Good evening. I'm calling to order this workshop of the Carrabelle City Commission. It's Tuesday, September the 27th, 2022. It's 5:30 p.m. and we're in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers. The invitation and pledge are not required for workshops. And also to remind you that this being a workshop, there will be no action taken this evening. And I didn't ask you to fill out speaker cards. There's quite a few of you. I'm sure you'll all want to speak, so just let me recognize you and you'll come to the podium and state your name for the record, because this is being not only video recorded, but audio recorded. So, just let me know when you want to speak. This is informal tonight. And I'll ask Ms. Keisha to make the roll call for us.
Commissioner Brown? Here. Commissioner Allen?
Here.
Mayor La Paz?
Here.
Commissioner Walden? And Commissioner Millender?
Here.
Okay, and let the record show that our city administrator is here, and our city clerk, and our city attorney, and we've got quite a few members of the public, and I won't name all of them, but there's several members of the public, and we're glad to see you here tonight. And the item for the workshop is discussion for downtown Carrabelle Business Parking and traffic flow. And we have two proposals before you this evening. One is a new city ordinance for business parking locations with accompanying parking time limit. And then the other one is a proposed partial one-way streets in the immediate downtown area. And so I'm going to ask first that we'll hear from Commissioner Brown first to tell us about her proposed parking ordinance. And then this will be followed by hearing from the public, and then we'll hear from the commission members. And then next, I'll tell you about the proposed one-way streets concept in downtown Carrabelle. And then once again, we'll hear from the public, and then we'll hear from the commission members. And so I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Brown.
Okay. Originally, this came up because I am also a local downtown business owner, and speaking to other business owners, it's apparent that we have some traffic issues. One of the issues is we have sometimes trucks and trailers parking, taking up 3 or 4 parking spaces in front of businesses, and just, we don't have that many spaces, so when they do that, could be half of all the spaces we have for our store. Another issue is some of the employees of the local businesses are parking in front of other people's businesses all day long and taking up their spots. So I just requested that we get signs that state in the red areas only, 2-hour parking limit for vehicles only, and violators will be towed. Then I found out we actually do have a parking ordinance, but it's very, very old, and it's for 1-hour parking only. I'm not exactly sure what areas, or maybe that's all areas, but I feel like we do need to update it. And that is what I have proposed.
Would you tell us about your different locations that you have
So
there?
The green, which is mostly the side streets and that aren't directly in front of local businesses, would be unlimited. So employees could park there. If you're going to be downtown for 7 or 8 hours, you can park there. There's no time limit. And then the red would be the proposed 2-hour parking limit for vehicles only. And I've been told down at the pavilion, maybe that's not necessary. That's fine, whatever. But I do know in front of the businesses, it is necessary and much needed.
And then for public record, we know the answer, but I'll ask you for public record. What about overnight parking?
Well, I don't know. Does our ordinance now say no overnight parking?
I believe it does.
It's been suggested that we not have any overnight parking in the red areas.
I know we have posted in the Messer Pavilion no overnight parking, and it seems as at one time we had no overnight parking down by the boat ramp area and the Marine Street Pavilion, but we we think that maybe the signs had been removed or something, but,
And I've been told that people that are traveling to Dog Island and may stay the weekend or whatever may use that for parking, so that might be,
Yeah, that'd
they
be,
may need to park overnight in those areas.
now, I wanted to ask you, I had mentioned earlier, our regular commission meeting, over there in front of the hairspray, you have that where people could come and park just as long as they want. Do you think that that would affect those businesses there if you're?
I do not typically, the only people who park in those spots are the hairspray employees and their customers, and they don't seem to have a problem with it whatsoever, so that's why I left that green.
Okay. And they do have parking, parallel parking, all the way, that whole block there up to First Street.
Right, and the parallel parking is mostly the customers at the seafood shack.
Mhm. Okay, so let's hear from the public on this.
I can just answer the
Okay.
one question that was asked
All right.
earlier on overnight. So the existing ordinance says 1 hour parking, and it shall be unlawful for anyone to park or leave parked on a city street, any motor vehicle, in excess of 1 hour in the following areas, which is the east side of Marine or Tallahassee Street, beginning at the intersection of Marine or Tallahassee Street and Avenue B South, and running along the east side of Marine or Tallahassee Street, again to the intersection of Marine or Tallahassee Street and East Meridian Avenue. Also, east along the north side of Avenue A South for a distance of 150 feet. So that's it. That's the 1 hour parking restriction.
That's a lot.
It is.
That's all of the downtown
Yep,
business area.
But it's just the east side of.
just the east side.
Commissioner Brown is showing that pretty much the same, aren't you, Commissioner Brown? But she's showing the west side as well.
So, that it, the current ordinance is just right here and along this side, correct? And then this is something I propose on both sides because there's post office here, businesses here, businesses, all of both of these are open now. And then these businesses actually take up a ton of spaces. So I suggested both sides of the road here until the condos. Because they're gonna have guests who spend the night, they may need additional parking, so they have all these spaces here to park as well. And then each business within a block has parking for employees, so they're not gonna be walking that far if they need to park for several hours. You've got tons of parking here, tons of parking down here on C, all this, and on the other side of the post office, all the way down to the fire station. So there's tons of unlimited parking if you're an employee, have overnight guests, things like that. Well, maybe not overnight guests. But for this, I mean, we would need it to be overnight allowed because people live here.
Right, yes. And then, so let's hear, someone was speaking. You want us to come and speak to us?
Well, no,
Please stand up to the, and tell us your name.
Not a problem.
Okay,
Danielle Robinson Ellis with Taste of Korea. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and I agree with you nearly 100%. However, there are businesses that are open later, so maybe there can be a time frame. So the 2 hour ordinance, absolutely. I'm not in disagreement with the 1 hour ordinance up until a certain time. Because as a business owner, I mean, I don't need my parking spaces being taken up. I need business. Because if I don't have business, I don't make money. So I completely agree. But after a certain time, like when maybe your business is closed and other businesses shut
Maybe it's
down.
like 6 p.m.
Absolutely. Then you can actually add something to the sign saying, hey, if you're not out of these parking spaces by 8 a.m. in the morning, we're having your vehicle towed. And I don't think that that's, I'm not really big in the whole one-way thing. because, what you're going to get is a cluster at C30 with your boats. And so now we're gonna come all the way back to the city commissioners meeting and go, how are we gonna fix this? So that's not cool either. And, you know, it's our money paying you guys, and we don't need any more money coming out of our pockets. So, yes, I think that's fantastic. But yeah, there are certain businesses, because they're open later, and, you know, they're being funded by people that get off work and they wanna relax and they wanna do certain things, and, okay, whatever. But, you know, maybe we should make exceptions after a certain time that
I agree, I
it's-
think a
yeah.
time limit would be
Yeah.
a good idea.
So at 6 o'clock, if your vehicle's not out of there and you've taken up your time limit, be it an hour, be it 2, whatever time limit you want, you know, then we're towing you. But after that, when the businesses are closed and the parking spaces are not needed, and it's open for other businesses that happen to be open later, then, you know, but those businesses also need to understand that these vehicles need to be removed.
In the morning.
Absolutely.
So it would be something like a 2-hour parking between 8 or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something like that. And I have seen that in downtown areas. And we are working on a boat ramp overflow parking lot. And the main reason that this came, one of the main reasons that this came before the board in the first place is that the businesses were having an issue with truck trailer units coming into
Oh,
business.
no, I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we understand that that's an issue for them. So, and they're there all day long, taking up 2 or 3 spaces.
Well, they're only there during fishing season,
Yeah.
and they bring tons of business to our town, so we don't wanna also
We're working
go,
on a space
you
for
know,
them.
we don't want them here either.
Yeah.
Because they also eat at the places that we have in business. They buy food from the IGA, they buy bait from the bait shops that we have. They buy gas from our gas stations here. So, they rent from places that are here. So, I mean, we have to accommodate them too, so we have to
Right.
make it all mesh.
Mhm. Very good.
Thank
Very good, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, other comments, please? Okay, Mr. Randy, well, okay, Randy, I saw him
Okay.
first, and I'll get you, Miss Nikki.
City High.
Okay, oh, okay. Just tell us your name.
Hi, my name is Randy Lee. I own Coastal Cottage here in Carrabelle. About a year ago, there was 2 businesses on Marine Street. There was myself, Harry's, 3, actually in the Mac store. That's all the businesses we own. Every building on Marine Street except for 1 is not occupied, is now occupied. Parking hasn't grown. I fill the parking lot up around in front of my store and across the street when we're in season, just myself. We have to do something. If we don't do something about, I don't care what we do about the boats, whatever works, someone's going to get hurt. Crossing that road, the boats come through, they're going to fight. They don't care who goes first, they don't care who goes second, they're going to both go at the same time. A child is going to get hurt. We can't even get wheelchairs down parts of Marine Street. I have been guilty in the past, and I'm very aware of it now. I can't block it. So there's other places on Marine Street we can't get a wheelchair down for the trash and all the stuff built up in front of the places. Marine Street is growing, our businesses are growing, and we have to figure out a way to work all these things that you were talking about into working. And just 2-hour parking is a great idea. I don't have a problem with that at all. If they leave my store, I'm going to walk outside and show them where the other stores are within walking distance. I don't care if they leave their car there and go shop in all the other stores. If they don't buy from me, hopefully they'll buy from one of my neighbors. But there's got to be a happy medium here on this parking situation and on this one-way thing. There's got to be a way to figure this out. Somebody's going to get hurt there. They'll get hurt there. They're going to get hurt crossing 98. we can't get a light and nobody thinks we're supposed to stop, nobody does anything about it. And someone's going to get hurt, trying to get to our local businesses. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay,
Nikki.
Nikki Millender, a full-time resident of Carrabelle. I'm sorry, but I have to say I'm totally against the one-way streets. Number one, mainly because what I call Highway 67, y'all have listed as Tallahassee, that's a hurricane evacuation route. So you have traffic, if we were evacuating right now, that street would be bombarded. You've got the fire station that sits there, and they come out and they're needing to come back to the right toward Highway 98. I mean, yeah, some vehicles pull over, but let me tell you, I've seen that time and time again. Vehicles don't pull over just because it's an emergency vehicle trying to get out. So what kind of cluster is that gonna cause for emergency personnel, fire department, ambulances, all of that? I'm totally against having any kind of time limit. Our city cops, they've got enough stuff to do around here. Let me tell y'all, meth, drugs, everything else is raging through this city, and these gentlemen's got more time, they've got more better jobs to do than did playing traffic control. My personal opinion of a lifetime resident, I've seen every one of these businesses open. I've seen Tom Crumb Seafood across the street from Harry's Bar, wide open, trucks in and out, seafood trucks, workers parked there, Harry's Bar opened, a deli, everything. There was never an issue. They didn't have to have a time limit. As far as employees and parking in front of other businesses, tell them where to park. Y'all the bosses. If they can't park where they're told to park, then obviously you need to do something with them, recommend them, write them up. I've never had a problem telling an employee what to do with mine. I mean, that's just the way I feel about it. I would be an upset person if I went and sat down there at Marine Street Grill and I ordered a meal, decided to have me a few drinks or whatever, and I got to sit here and steady watch my watch, worried to death if I'm gonna get towed, because you got some people that go down there and have events. I sat right there this past year celebrating my daughter's graduation down there at the pavilion. We done a low country bowl and everything. It was there longer than 2 hours. You know, as far as boat traffic, I completely agree with that. In my scenario, the street right there just past Harry's Bar, I don't know what it is, put up some signs. No trailer parking beyond this point. From there to Highway 98, problem solved. Cops ride by, they there, they get a phone call, get towed, get ticketed, get whatever. I mean, that's my suggestion. As far as overnight parking, I totally am in favor of that, because I'm a person, I'm around this town a lot at night. I like to go down to the pier with my 16-year-old son, we do, and a lot of times in the summer, you can't even park down there because you've got Dog Island traffic that's sitting there being parked. If Dog Island is gonna have a rental, they need to clean up their property down there so the people can park, because it's so overgrown. And my next thing I'm gonna say is, when did the city have to start providing private places with parking? I'm a city resident, I own in the city limits, but y'all don't give me free parking out on the highway if I was to rent my house Airbnb. I have to provide that. So why should we have to provide those condos across the street? Underneath them houses, they provide parking. So where you talked about we need to save this for them, no we don't. That's public property. I pay for it and everyone else in here does.
I wasn't saying only the condo people could park there. I was just saying that's most likely who's going to park there.
I agree with that, but you also have anybody should be allowed to park
They
there.
could.
But in all honesty, they shouldn't be allowed to park there overnight, because how do you know that that person that's parked there overnight ain't somebody sitting over there at Dog Island renting a house? I mean, in all honesty, to me, that's just too much government stepping in, trying to take over things. Leave it as it is, put you some signs up in your downtown business area That's it, which, and truthfully, it should be common sense, but unfortunately, everybody don't have common sense to not park like that in front of a business and go off fishing or what
Yeah.
have you.
That was my original
And-
ask, was just to get
Yeah.
signs that state this, that's it.
And I understand and I agree, and if I was a person in here shopping around, I'd be upset, cause I'd be thinking, oh my God, I gotta hurry, I got to. So therefore, that's gonna take away from you guys' businesses, because I got to hurry to go move my car if there was a time limit. I just really feel like the signage of stating no, no parking and don't just say boat trailers period, because I might have a little 8x10 utility trailer behind me. You know, just trailers in general, and post it both sides of the street, and if they park in there, tow them and everything. And I mean, I just think there's other ways around it. And the employees parking, I mean, all you guys as business owners got to do is tell your employees what to do.
I don't have employees, they're not my
I know, I'm
employees.
just speaking for anyone that does, because I know the gentleman, somebody mentioned about employee, I mean, they're your employees. If they can't listen, then maybe you don't need them.
A lot of times it's other businesses parking in front of another business because they don't want to park in front of their own business.
Right, and in some places, I mean, that's something business owners, I just thought should work out, but thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think we all appreciate it. It's a different point of view. And you're always well outspoken, and I appreciate that too. Okay, so next up, we're all here now. We have an opportunity to speak, and we need to be able to speak so that we can work something out here, because there are some issues with parking downtown, and there's some safety issues as well.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief. This is Chief Schuman.
Courtney, when was that ordinance written?
A couple days ago.
A couple centuries ago. So in 40-plus years, we've never enforced it, not to my knowledge. So why now?
Right.
It's always been public parking. Apalachicola does not have any no parking areas. They're all public, they don't have this issue. They're downtown, they have a lot of businesses.
They have a lot more parking than we do too.
I understand that, I get that. The issue that you're gonna have, and I talked with Brandon from Southern Towing, who's here tonight, is we have 2 tow truck companies in the county that are on rotation. And when you tow a vehicle, you have to get the next person in rotation. It may be 45 minutes to an hour before they can get in there and tow that vehicle. If the case arises where the owner of that vehicle comes out before that tow truck gets there, we have to let them leave with their vehicle. We can't tow it. If the tow truck's en route, then there may be a fee for their time, their gas, and their mileage. The city of Carrabelle is going to be responsible for that. So we might want to rethink the towing thing. Signs are a good thing. I think signs would be the most informational way to let people know where to park, how to park. I still like the idea of the one-way. I think it eliminates a lot of the congestion. We can also go back to the parallel parking instead of the horizontal parking. The other issue is with tow trucks, with the, if you call somebody outside the county, they can't come tow a vehicle. They can't take a vehicle out of the county. They have to have a holding yard here in the county, and the only 2 that has it is Southern Towing and the one out of Apalachicola. So, again, I agree with the truck and trailer parking, the signs. I do agree that we should have no overnight parking, especially down toward the boat ramp, the fishing area, that stuff. And I think with signs, we can eliminate a lot of this problem. So, that's just my thoughts.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. We know you're out there working the beat, so, yes.
Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
okay.
I'm gonna let her.
I'm really just kind of reiterating, Kimberly Wallace representing Harry's Bar. I am all in favor of some signage that states between possibly 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., that these parking spots are available for public, for businesses, etc. And speaking on behalf of Harry's, as far as the towing, You know, we, like Danielle brought up, we do not want to discourage all these fishermen from coming to this community because they do help our economy. They do spend money here. I don't think personally, for me as the GM, I would run out there every 2 hours and check to see if, oh, so-and-so's car's here. I don't think that towing would be a big issue based on proper signage, discouraging, you know, basic courtesy. The one-way street, I haven't really gave that a lot of thought. I'll have to get back with y'all on that. But I definitely am all in favor of signage stating between certain hours that these businesses that are operating from 10 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. to, you know, to be courteous. But again, we are not gonna run out and monitor vehicles that's going to tie up our department. You know, it is mainly for, and you're working on resolving that issue with trailers, you know, empty boat trailers and trucks. So, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kim Wallace. Okay, Ms. Danielle. Tell us who you are again, because the audio
Danielle
can't.
Robinson, Atlas, Taste of Korea. Okay, so I do think signage is gonna be, like a major part of this, because most people that are coming from here, they're coming from big cities, and they know, like, you say towing, they're like, oh, we don't wanna get towed, because normally you get towed. So, and Chief, I understand what your issue is, so if the towing issue is a problem, I mean, I'd be happy to open up a towing company that, without you having to go, you know, circulate, we'll have our guys come out every night and just look. Not that I wanna take anybody's vehicle or do anything, but I certainly wouldn't wanna spend Carrabelle's money in that aspect, but I don't think that that's really gonna be that big of an issue. Honestly, I think if we put signs up, like I said, you guys, if you do the one-way street, you're gonna have an issue at C30.
Yeah.
A big issue. You're gonna have accidents, major accidents, because you got so many boats that are gonna have to go out at one time. When snapper season gets here, do you really think that that little C30 exit is gonna handle every boat coming out of there? It's not.
You mean exiting, leaving?
Exiting, leaving, because if you make Marine Street one way, now we have one way to exit. You cannot come back. So you
Okay.
coming with the boat.
I want to tell you, though, that we have recently surfaced. It was a Lime Rock Road, and it was proposed back in the late 2000s, somewhere around 2007-8, to surface Southeast 5th Street coming from Avenue F to Highway 98 as a connector for the boat ramp. And
Is it there?
it's, yes ma'am, it is surfaced. And so when they come out of the boat ramp, they would head east, past their parking area there, and just to the left, they would turn north, and that is we call it like the 5th Street connector, and it connects out to Highway 98.
So you have two outlets, is what you're talking
And
about.
then we just finished another connector, which is Southeast 9th Street, and that is, then you just go past the 5th Street a little bit before, I don't know if you know where Miss Pat Bragdon lives, it's before you get to Miss Pat Bragdon. It was a one-way, it was a Lime Rock Road, and now it is a nice asphalt road, so we have two connectors for the boat folks to use.
And that's cool that you can sit there and say, well, I don't know if you know who Miss Bragdon is. Yes, I do. But we've got people coming in from Atlanta.
Right.
You think they know who that is?
No, but we can have signage.
I mean, wait a minute. If you go up here and take a left at Miss
I'm talking
Bragdon's,
to Danielle
I
right
understand
now.
that.
Okay.
But Miss Mayor, I'm speaking to you because I've got Joe Smith coming from Atlanta going, oh, I'm sorry, well, hold on, let me call Miss Danielle from Days of Korea. And where do I go? I'm gonna take this road to the left? No, they have no clue. Do you think that GPS is gonna say, hey, this is your bet? No, they're gonna navigate down C30 or Marine Street.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen, because everybody uses GPS. Okay, so now if you want us to use some other way, that's fine. But I'm telling you that it's gonna cause a problem. We're gonna end up back here again, because it's not gonna work. I mean, you're basically running around your elbow to get to your thumb. Because I understand that people that live here, we get it. Okay, I know that I need to go up here to Mr. Millender's house, and, because I say, hey, when you're going down Tallahassee Street, you know the two white trees? Take a right. Everybody, how many people don't know that here?
Well, I just think
The
that
two white
signage can
trees.
handle this all. and
You
this is a waste
understand what
of
I'm
my
saying?
time.
That's how we get directions here, because we are local. But we're trying to deal with people, and it's so funny, we wanna stay small, but you guys, we want everybody's money. We want Atlanta's money that comes down here. We want Colorado's money that comes down here. We want New York's money. Please come down here, spend your money with our businesses. Please do that, because we've got to make our house payments, we've got to make our utility payments, we've got to make our water payments, and God knows we want to send our kids to college. We want all of your money, but we don't want you to get to the boat ramp.
Okay, thank you. All
You're
right.
welcome.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Gina Wells. I own Gina's Flowers on Marine Street. I agree with the signage for the parking. Again, from what I hear, there's not gonna be enough, we're not gonna be able to tow people. And I think the signage would be great. I agree with that. As far as me, I'm always having to pull up, take flowers out to my car to deliver and things like that. I'll have to continue to do that. I have told my employees to park on the side street, you know, and I did that just recently. And she has started parking out of the way or on the grass right now until that changes. But, so I'm good with that. The one-way street, I do think we need it. And, the Marine Street coming out to 98, the boats trying to get in and out of there is no better than I think it would be on what she was referring to, C30 or whatever. And if you've made other alternative streets, I don't know where you're talking about right now, but that would, with signs, I mean, people come in from out of town, they're gonna have to follow the rules. They can still spend their money, but they gotta follow the rules just like they do in any other town they come to, you know? And so, yes, we are growing, but we need to grow with the times and make things better in our area. I mean, and if we provide the appropriate information to these folks, then they'll come back and they'll spend their money and all of those things. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you, Miss Gina. Okay, Miss Nikki, and then we'll limit it to 2 times to the podium at 3 minutes each. Okay.
Again, on the one-way parking, I'm totally against it. I understand.
You mean one way?
Or the one-way street,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm totally against it. A lot of you folks ain't lived here for 20, 30, 40 years, but let me give you a little Carrabelle history. I was born 1977, lived here my whole life. The little area you all are talking about, every business was open. And not only that, we had a full-time pharmacy. We also had another full-time pharmacy. Where the BP sits at now is the gas station, so therefore cars is constantly in and out. We had a restaurant set right there. So therefore folks came, they parked on the side street. We had City Hall that sat there. People come in and out daily. Across the street from Harry's Bar, you had a big full-time fish house that sat there. Nobody never got killed. Nobody never got ran over. And there was never no car wrecks. So I don't see what the problem is today when you had way, way more traffic. The motel that sits across the street from the BP, it was called Georgian Motel. It was open. People constantly in and out, fishermen, everything. Nothing has changed in 40 years. There's not no more people in here than there was then. So why now, all of a sudden, do we need to change something that's been this way for years and years? That in actuality, if you want to look at it, there's less people. because you don't have the fish house, you don't have the fish house down by the boat ramp. The motel isn't open full-time to people that comes, checks in and out. Basically, it's people that's living there. You don't have the restaurant where the BP is. So you actually have less stuff if you look at it. And so I'm just 100% totally against the one. I mean, come on, you had right there the slab in front that runs down at an angle where you got piles of rocks at now. Guess what? That was semi-trailers that backed down there and loaded up with seafood and hauled it. You don't have that no more. So what is the necessary need of having a one-way just because y'all want it? I mean, I just personally, as a person that's lived here all my life, there's never, ever been a problem. Nobody, I was a kid who played at that fish house when it was open. I mean, I played on the docks and everything. I'm still here alive today. I ain't been run over or nothing.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any more comment on the parking? Because we really hadn't gotten into detail on the one-way yet. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. My name's Brandon.
Okay.
I'm on the tow company here.
Hi.
I also control most of the tow trucks from McCullough, Franklin, and Gulf counties. There's basically only two I don't control. With that being said, when you call a tow truck, no matter what time it is, night or day, it's not going to be your problem. When you call a tow truck because you have a problem with this, it's going to be that man's problem, my problem, or a deputy's problem. We're the ones that's going to have to go down there and deal with the drunk guy, Harry A's, because it's trucking boats here. Honestly, I want to get this out in the open. I don't want to tow their vehicles. I'm not here to make anybody mad. We make money doing other things. We don't have to pick on people like that. And I understand where you're coming from. You have businesses there, you want parking. I understand this. And I agree with people with the signs and stuff like that. I think that everybody that has a business on that road or has something to do with that area should have something to say about this. Like I said, when there's a tow happening there, or the law's called, something happens, a wreck, whatever, we're going to be there. So if you got somebody that goes in a shop or goes in Harry's, let's say somebody goes and eats at Marine Street Grill and parks their truck there. Well, what if they walk over to your shop, buy a couple of gifts? What if they say, you know what, I'm gonna walk around the corner to Fathoms for a little bit, and they're going to Fathoms. Well, when they come back, their truck's gone. Well, they were your customer. They were Harry's customer. What are you gonna do when they hold that receipt and say, I bought from your store and I parked in front of it, and now you towed my car? Who's gonna be responsible for that? I mean, who's gonna be responsible for us coming out at 11 o'clock at night, and we get there and people screaming and yelling, they got kids or whatever they're trying to eat, and they want to load up in their vehicle, go back to Tallahassee, and we say, oh, well, listen, you owe us, $45 for coming down here, or whichever the case may be, and everybody's mad about it. That's going to make that person mad at you, at me, at him. We're going to have a lot of mad people here. That's the way you start small town drama, is to mess with people like that. We don't, like I said, we don't want to tow the vehicle unless the law is called and they have to dispatch us, which, with that being said, the police department is your own entity, okay? The sheriff's department is a different entity. We have a lifetime contract with the sheriff's department. There's only 2 of us. That's the only 2 people that can be on rotation. It don't matter if 40 other people move in here with $1 million, they're going to start tow companies. They can just tow personal stuff because they're not going to be on any kind of rotations or contract. They're not going to be involved in this right here because we're the only ones with contracts with the law enforcement. With that being said, we hold $2 million in insurance for this. I have 6 trucks that rotate this area all the time, 24/7. Who's going to pay for my diesel, my guy to go down there and sit for an hour arguing with somebody over towing a car, which we don't want to tow in the first place. We're not here to pick on anybody. We would just like it to just be like, listen, go find whoever's in the store and bring them out, let them get their car and move it. Put up some signs, whichever. With all this being said, you're going to bounce all this back on the sheriff's department is what's going to happen. Because when she complains that somebody's in front of her store and she wants them towed, she's going to call the law. Well, the law, dispatch, goes to the sheriff's department. We're contractors with the sheriff's department. So therefore, you're putting the city's problem on the county. It's literally what's happening. And then the county is pushing it over on me. So then I have to deal with that person we talked to about the car. They call me, oh, you SOB, this, you ain't supposed to do this. This happens. This is an everyday occurrence, especially when you get people down here just drinking at the bar, they've had 4, 5, 6 drinks, they're in their boat, they've been out here fishing all day, they're not happy in the first place. Especially when they come out in their truck, their boat, everything's gone. Now they owe $150 tow fee because their boat and trailer's gone. They're gonna be highly upset. So I have to agree with Nikki on a lot of this, that I think signs are the best way. Pass an ordinance on 3 or 4 of the places in front of the businesses. And like I said, this is the businesses that have the problem on that road right there. Put, the name on the sidewalk. You can pass an ordinance and just put Harry's on 3 or 4 parking spots. At least give them 3 or 4, ordinance-wise, without a tow truck. With all that being said, a lot of people have never been in, I've been in tow business for 30 years now. With that being said, a lot of new cars are all-wheel drive. A lot of cars are electric. A lot of cars, we have to pick systems. We have $10,000 computers that we have to plug in to make the alarms go off or reset them so somebody can redrive them. Because a lot of times when you tow a car, it will set the alarm off on a Tesla or something. It has to go to the dealership. Closest dealership is Pensacola or Tampa. I just did one the other day. I mean, you're talking about a full day's run. And who's going to be responsible for that? Me? You? Because the person's going to be mad. They're going to want it fixed. So we have to buy these computers to reset them. So like I said, this is, I feel personally as a tow owner, and like I said, I run most of the tow trucks, most of these calls. I was up this morning until 4 or 5 o'clock this morning with AJ on a meth bust, because that's what we do. We work with them, we tow all the stuff. I think personally, you're asking for a lot of drama if you tow these vehicles. And I'm in the towing business. I'm not sitting, that's how I make my money, okay? Through the 3 counties. And I am personally saying, I don't want to tow them. And I don't know what else to say about it. I think there's other ways, like I said, there's signage or whatever, and since you're your own entity, Danielle wants to start a tow company, let her buy a truck, get $1 million of insurance. You can use her. She can run down there all day long and tow cars. You have to have a fenced-in yard in Franklin County. No other tow company got it. It's illegal for any other tow company across this county line to pick up a vehicle like that. It's illegal. It's also illegal if you tow that vehicle more than 29 miles away. So the other tow companies in Apalachicola is 29 miles away. So therefore, that puts me as number 1 on this list. I don't really want to be number 1 on this list. I don't want the problems. Because like I said, when somebody calls about this, it's going to be Mr. Schumann or one of his guys, or me and my guys down there, and we're the buttholes and this and that. We towed the car, we did this. We're the ones out there getting in the fights, people throwing stuff, busting the window of that truck, scratching trucks, trying to cut our tires, stupid stuff like that over what? 50, 60 bucks? It's just not worth it. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude in any way with any of your businesses. I think there's a better way to handle this. Because the simple fact of the matter is, we're in Carrabelle. We're not in Tallahassee. We're not in Atlanta. You can't just go tow somebody's vehicle. You tow her vehicle, she's down here with her cousins, or her cousins are from somewhere else. You're going to make a lot of people mad that we don't want mad. We want, you want to stay in that seat. I want to stay here. We don't need bad reviews. We don't need bad people talking bad about us. That's what I'm getting at here. I'm a local. I've been here my whole life. I'm with Nikki. Born the same year, actually. I'll hold that again. But anyway, I agree with what she has to say. She's a good person. She knows. I know. I've been here through it all. I'm friends with the Milliners and Johnny and all them. We talk, we tow for them and everything else. I've seen it. And like she said, this place was busier 20 years ago than it ever has been today. We had no problems down here. None. Back then I had 2 tow trucks, and I don't know that we ever towed a daggum car off that road, really, other than a wreck at a bar or something. That's it. So simply put, all I'm trying to say is, I think maybe the ordinance with some names, signs, stuff like that would work a lot better, because we don't want to be out there at midnight arguing with a bunch of drunk people over what's getting towed, what ain't getting towed, this and that. And then, like I said, then they want to shop in their shop. When they say, well, why is my truck getting towed? Well, the girl that owns this store right here says you've been here more than 2 hours, and she called that man right there, and that man called dispatch, they called me. Well, guess what? They're going to hate me, they're going to hate him, and they're never going to shop at your store again. That's how it's going to go. And these people come down all the time. I deal with people on a yearly basis that are my customers that come from Kentucky, Atlanta, and they call us for tire changes and unlocks and make keys and tow cars. We get that all the time because we're good to them. They say, oh man, you don't charge the prices they do in Atlanta. That's why. Because if we did, we wouldn't be doing so. So like I said, I think there's a better solution for this. As a tow truck guy, and as how I make my money, I'm saying I would rather not make the money and rather not be involved in it, if I had my choice. That's literally all I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate the input. It was educational, to say the least. Thank you for your service as well.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, is there anyone else who wants to comment on the parking? Chief Schuman.
I just want to add about 3 more things to that. One, if it's a code ordinance, Florida statute requires you to tell the complainant or the person who the complainant is. So keep that in mind. So you businesses, when y'all have a vehicle towed or someone's vehicle towed, they come out and ask who called, we have to tell them who it is. That's required by the Florida statute. The other thing is the sheriff's office quit doing the parking out of good point for this very reason that Fran was talking about. Because it's too much of drama, it's too much a headache, it's too much of a hassle, it's too time consuming, you don't have the manpower. And the third thing is the issue that Ms. Robinson was talking about with Marine Street. We already have that problem with Gulf Avenue with the trucks and the trailers parking all the way down Gulf Avenue already anyway. And we've never worked an accident down there, so I don't think that's gonna be much of an issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your input. And thank you for reminding us that you do have to report who is the complaining person. I had that as a note to speak earlier. Is there any other comment about the parking? Okay, I just want to go over real quick on the one-way streets here. And a lot of you have not been to our recent meetings. This parking issue was first on our July meeting, and it's been on an item on the July, August, and September meetings. So we have this board with some members of the public, and the chief, we have already had preliminary discussions that you all haven't heard already. That have taken place, and what we're presenting to you now is like a result of some of those discussions. And there have been some people that said in the meetings that suggested the one-way streets, and the chief has suggested the one-way street, and some people suggested both streets as a one-way, and one way only for the first 2 blocks on both streets, not the entire street for an evacuation route, no. The one-way street on going south on Marine Street is one way for the first 2 blocks to Southeast Avenue C, and this has been strongly suggested by some of the business owners, by the chief, and by many regular citizens in our meetings. And what we were trying to do here with the one-way on Marine Street was whenever the vehicles, the truck trailer units, turn back around from the boat ramp area, and they have no place to park down there at the boat ramp, which, by the way, the city has spent almost $2 million on purchasing that property and building that boat parking area there, and we're trying to develop more parking. Now, we do try and work hard to cater to our anglers that visit here and to our local anglers. But that they would turn around and come back down towards Marine, towards the business district as they do. But if it was a one-way street posted one way right there at the corner of Southeast Avenue C and Marine, that would direct them, which we're trying hard now, we did this past summer, to direct them to our overflow parking lot that we're developing, and actually we're having an engineer right now is doing a conceptual of how this parking lot's going to be. It's down at the end of Avenue C, and Courtney's going to point that out to you now. So we need to figure out some way to get these people down here to this right here. The city owns this is about a half of a block right here that we know we can get some truck trailer units in. And the engineer is supposed to, I believe at our next October meeting, he will be presenting us with a conceptual for that. And we do have funding for that as well. To develop that lot, and this board has agreed to fund that development of that lot. So we want to give people, our boaters over there, our anglers parking there, so that they're not so congested down on Gulf Avenue. And Courtney, would you just point out the Southeast 5th Street, which can also be put up on some signage? We are developing signage for the boat ramp area that will give directions to this parking lot, that will give directions to this 5th Street connector, and then there's another connector over there, Southeast 9th Street. And I think this 5th Street would be the main one that would be used. This is something that...
Fifth Street's here and it's paved, and 9th Street's here and it's paved.
And 7th Street is paved as well, but that's too difficult to get to with a boat, that left turn there. So that is, then the folks that were coming south, that would come off of Highway 98, if they come off Highway 98 and they miss their parking area at Coastal Cottage or Gina's Flower Shop, they're gonna pretty much have to go all the way down to the boat ramp area and turn around, or either make a U-turn in the street. So, or either they're gonna have to turn on Southeast Avenue C, go on 1st Street behind the Jordan, which is gonna be paved tomorrow. It's in bad condition. We've had it paved once before. It's in bad condition. It's gonna be paved tomorrow, the next day. And then they have to come back, come back around on Southeast Avenue B. So, they've got to go around anyway. Now, if they want to get back to the downtown. And it has been suggested for safety's sake, because there are so many log trucks now that they stick out into the traffic lane, that a one-way street would allow diagonal parking on each side of the street, on Marine Street, and it would give more parking with diagonal instead of the parallel parking next to the curb. And you would just have one way instead of cars trying to ease around or fighting each other or whatever that goes on in those first 2 blocks. So that is that on that side of the street. On the other side of the street, I do take into consideration the fact that it is used for some evacuation. Now, it's not a formal evacuation route because it floods up there when you get to Liberty County, but it can, and it is used as evacuation route. I have used that. The fire department, now it could be an issue with the fire department making that a one-way street there. They may need to come out, and I appreciate that that you brought that up, and your comments on the one-way street there in Tallahassee. Thank you very much, honestly. So that's something to consider there. It's not something that we have to do. And that's your one-way streets. Now, of course, on your one-way street here, you have the same issue with it's narrow and you've got trucks and vehicles trying to pass each other while other vehicles are sticking out from parking or sticking out in the middle of the driving lane. These people going one way into town, of course, they would have to come up here to the intersection of Avenue A, and come back down, come to the west and turn down either at the library, 2nd Street, which was paved today, or at the Veterans Park, or come back around here to Northeast 1st Street and come back down to 98. I don't know what you do. I don't approach it that way, but if you're coming off of 98 to get to the post office and there's no parking spaces on the right-hand side, what do? They probably have to go back around the whole block and come back around. You can't make a U-turn there at all. There's no way to make a U-turn in the street, and it's illegal. So that is your one-way street. And this was proposed in one of our meetings, and so that's how this came about. Does
Mayor,
anyone have comments? Okay, now, you've been 2 times, you already
just
talked.
because we don't attend the city meetings always, don't think that we're not watching them, like, because you made that comment.
Yeah.
That's why I waited to come here tonight. I
Okay.
don't know if that was for me or not.
No, it was for
But
everybody.
that's why I waited to come to the workshop tonight to speak my opinion, because I knew the workshop was coming up.
Okay.
I can promise I watch your city meetings every
Good,
week.
thank you, thank you. All
And
right.
wait, I just wanted to say, because I wasn't
Wait.
making anything towards you.
Calm down, calm down.
I wanted a time
It
limit,
was fine.
is that's all,
Miss-
at 6
Both
o'clock.
of you ladies, no more
You see
speaking
what I'm saying?
unless you come.
On the
I'm
parking?
Yes.
gonna ask you to be removed, Miss Danielle, and both of you, if you speak out one more time without coming to the podium and without asking. Excuse me for pointing my finger. I could have had you all fill out a speaker card and none of you be able to speak unless you had filled out a speaker card. This is a informal meeting, but it is formal enough that you are gonna be recognized by the chair and you're gonna come to the podium and speak. Is that understood? Any more outbursts and you will be asked to be removed, because we do have civil meetings here. Okay?
Okay,
Is that okay?
no problem.
All right, very good. Thank you both, ladies. All right, who wants to comment on the one-way street?
I do.
Okay, please come forward. Although we know you've already commented
Well,
on it.
I didn't know there's a comment at a public workshop,
Okay.
so. But anyways, back on the one-way street where you said earlier, just because people don't always come, we watch
Okay.
the meetings, we know what's going on. But my whole thing is like I told you all earlier, and there's a little snake in the grass right here. A lot of people don't know about, but I kind of seen it posted on Facebook the other day. We got another business sitting right there across the street at Old Tom Crumb's.
Oh.
And somebody's looking to develop nice riverfront property. So my question is this some of the backing? Because I got in it with them on Facebook about it the other day and I'm surprised he's not here. I don't know who he's in, but in case you all don't know, we're looking at developing Tom Crumb Seafood to a real nice like tiki hut type establishment, pictures posted just like they have at Alligator Point. So I'm telling you, I'm in complete disagreement, and just because I don't come to every city meeting don't mean I don't care. And like I said before, that place has been busier than it's ever been before back in the 1980s. Mr. Keith knows it, Mr. Tony knows it, because every one of them lived here. And like I said, there was never no problem. So why change something that ain't broken? Too much government getting involved.
Now, I haven't heard anything, don't leave yet. I haven't heard anything about
Go look
the
at the old
business.
Carrabelle Motel website, you'll see it.
Okay. I wanted to say also that I appreciate your suggestion earlier about signage there at the Southeast Avenue C for no truck trailer units beyond this point.
Well, I've got to come back on that one.
I wasn't ready for you to leave.
And my whole thing is like y'all, and I do completely understand about when the people goes fishing, it's busy season and the boat traffic and stuff coming back through to exit. I get it. But how come, just like the truck route that's listed as a designated truck route with signage, why can't there be some type of signage done instead of making it a one? I just personally feel like a one-way street, and I'm gonna go back to emergency personnel. And no, and Kim, nothing against you, but some people goes to the bar, they have a few too many drinks. And what if, you know, you've got somebody trying to get down that area, an emergency or something, and they're coming from Lanark Way or whatever I just feel like the one-way street is gonna be too much confusion, especially after a person's already got, because whether they're legally drunk or not, if you kick back your phone, right, you're not all completely in your mind to necessarily think to stop, to get out of the way. But why not put signage up? And you talked about Mayor at the old city water plant there making it. why not put some type of sign, no beyond this point, period? After a while of because it's basically the same fisherman comes down time and time again, and after a while, they gonna see the sign, hey, we gotta turn this way instead of going down Marine Street past the businesses and stuff. I mean, I think signage is the biggest thing, instead of changing something that has been in place for years and years and has never been a problem before. So thank y'all.
Thank you, thank you. All right.
Okay, and I want to Danielle Robinson, T-Script. I want to reiterate that at the beginning, I said that I do feel like there's a time, and like you said, that it's the business owner that's got to call, so they're going to be responsible. But I also said there should be a time limit even on that, like so 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever. You know, at that point, eliminate it. We're back to square one, how the city has always been run. That's what I was trying to explain to you. Who cares? I mean, we've all been able to manage it thus far. I mean, who's really complaining? What do we have, 1 or 2? I mean, if you're the business owner and you don't like that the car's been parked there for 3 days, okay, we're calling someone. If the car's there for 4 hours and we know that they just come in and bought from us and they said, hey, Brenda, I know that I just bought these flowers from you, but I think I'm gonna run over here, I'm gonna have a drink, and then I think I'm gonna go over here and eat something. Do you mind if I? No, of course. Because I would like to think that the residents of Carrabelle are civil people, and we're gonna be like, yeah, clearly, I'm not calling someone. The time frame is because there's always that one person, there's always just that one that goes, I'm just gonna leave my car here for 3 days. Why? I have no clue. I mean, who knows? But they do. The law is really set for that one person that just steps outside that box that goes, okay, we're gonna have to call the law this time. Or we're gonna have to call the towing company this time. I'm not saying that we don't, but I am against the one-way street, and it needs to be left up to the business owner. Now, if you wanna call and have your customer towed, and you don't want that customer to ever come back, you go right on ahead, buddy. But I'm just saying, maybe we should, as a business owner, you should have that right. So I am all for the signage. I'm not saying let's tow everybody nobody's gonna sit there with a watch and go, okay, 2 hours and 1 minute. Nobody's gonna do that. But this one-way thing, I really do believe you're gonna just come into so many more issues, like the fire department. So many other issues.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Sharon.
I really don't want to do this, but just a suggestion.
Who are you now?
I'm Sharon Glaze,
Okay.
and I don't have a pony in the race. So I'm just wondering, because all these valid points, everybody has a very valid point. I'm wondering, like, and I don't know, because, you know, I don't sit here in the budgets, I don't know what all the budgets are, and I don't know anything, but what about, is there room, maybe next year's budget, if there's a big grant or something, what about making only Marine Street one way, down in front of the businesses, because that leaves the evacuation route open? What if we have some kind of engineer look at it, and you take it down where you're talking about, and it comes out at a point, and you do something there, because that little thing already forks, and I don't know how you'd work that out. I'm just suggesting, is there any way to do just one way on that one little Marine Street and have it coming around? Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, sir. And just tell us your name again. So that, okay.
My name's Brandon.
I fully agree with Ms. Danielle on a lot of that she was talking about. I think that she has a good idea on a lot of the situation. I think that as far as, I'm just gonna step to the towing thing real fast, and I'm gonna get off of that. But I think the 2-hour thing, that's kind of a bust, but if somebody does leave something there more than, 7, 8, 9 hours, yeah, sure, call the law, call the towing company, we'll have it removed. Everybody's happy. I think that solves that problem. So that way we can get past the whole, 2-hour thing, 2 hour and 20 minutes. Because believe it or not, when we do Alligator Point, which I hate doing that also, but I do that for the sheriff, we have people that call and text me all night long. I mean, Mr. Schuman can attest. I get text message at 2:30 in the morning. Are you going to do your job? There's a car down here at the beach right now. It's 2:30 in the morning. I'll get down there, there's one car at the beach. And yes, it's illegally parked. Who cares? There's nobody around. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I don't feel like we need to be like strict on it. I think, like I said, 5, 6, 7 hours. Where are these people at? Did they buy from me? Let me look. Oh yeah, they bought some stuff from me. Let's give them a little while or walk next door and say, hey, listen, maybe we need this parking spot or whatever. Jumping back to the one-way street thing, I feel personally it's a bad idea because of the fact I drive big stuff. I drive big trucks. I pull 30, 40, 50, 60-foot trailers behind me. When I got to go down here and pick up one of these boat trailers that has broken axle with a 30-foot boat on it, and I have to bring my semi down that one-way path with my 50-foot lowboy behind it that tilts back and rolls back 11 feet, I have no room. So I'm fixing to have to move cars, move trucks, get the cops out there to stop traffic. Now we got a big line of traffic like you do in Tallahassee on one-way street. And people like Mr. Allen over here, he lives over here on the side over there. Well, if you do the one-way street, he's going to have a constant run all day. I mean, it's going to be like, at a race car track. It's just going to be going and going, looking for parking, looking for parking, looking for parking. It's going to be constant. And I understand you got parking spots for the people. But when you do a one-way street, maybe they miss a parking spot. Maybe the boat trailer are pulling 35 feet. Maybe I put my boat in my water and my wife and my kids are holding on to it at the dock. Well, now I'm holding space at the dock, I'm holding space at the boat ramp, and I'm making loops trying to find a parking spot in my 35-foot trailer. I think we're fixing to cause a lot of chaos.
I don't think we were discussing making all of Marine Street one way, just the first 2 blocks.
Just the first 2 blocks?
Yes.
And with that being said, I understand that. With that being said, though, if you go down Marine Street and you drive a crew cab truck and you got a 25, 30-foot boat behind you, that's a nightmare. It's a nightmare like it is, and you got enough room. But when you start putting parking there and you do one way and this and that, and people try to back out of the shops or back out of the bar, it gets to be hectic.
It's hectic there now.
Right.
And that's why we're here.
Right, I understand, and I feel like, I'm going to be with Nikki on this, and I'm going to be like on Danielle with a lot of this too. I think that, the guy that run out earlier, I think signage, I think he's right. I think signage is the way to go. Knowledge is power, signage, let people know. We don't want to cause a ruckus. She don't want to cause a ruckus. We're not trying to start fights down here. We want people to come in. We want people to enjoy this place, to like it, to buy stuff from your place, to call me if something bad happens, to blow a tire off. We want that. So I think that, like Nikki says, for 40 years, I don't know, Kevin, have we had a wreck down there? Anything bad happen in the last?
We've had more wrecks in front of Harry's right there, that whole intersection, because of the
right.
It's so tight in there.
Right. But I mean, and you squeeze it down to one way, now you're gonna have people running even tighter in a circle. I mean, I feel like you're creating a racetrack for boats and trailers, and then they run down through there, and they can't get the boat out because somebody's there now. Well, people behind them beep, 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 beep. Damn, you gotta do the whole block again. So now you gotta do the block again. That's the way I feel about it. And I deal with traffic every day of my life. So.
Can I ask you something, Mr. Brand?
Sure.
So, driving those big, huge trucks with the big, huge trailers, would you even be able to use these side streets? Like, turning down here and then going down, I mean, how would that even work without running over the curbs and things like that?
It would be very tight. I mean, if we had to take the back street there, I don't know what it's called, but the one that goes right behind the Georgia Motel right there. That's a very tight road as it is. And you got people that live there. So you don't want to do no wide swings and get in their yard, or what if they got somebody parked out there in front of their house that's visiting? That can be a nightmare in itself, just right there. But you have to understand, when you're pulling a truck and trailer, just a normal guy, your guy coming fishing from Atlanta, and he's got his F-250 and his 30-foot boat and trailer behind him. Most of these guys pulling these trailers, I'm not saying nothing bad about people, but they're not that great at driving.
Yeah.
Okay?
We see it every day.
We all know. Okay, they take out fire hydrants and signs, I see it all the time. So, the thing we're proposing here, I think, would be basically a contest for a good driver. I think you put a bunch of big boat trailers and trucks down here with a bunch of guys that's had 2 or 3 or 4 beers and they're sunbaked from being on the water. Got another Ricky Bobby movie going on, you know? That's what I think.
Okay,
But that's
all
just my
right.
opinion.
All right, so let's move forward now. So thank you very much. Are there any other comments on the one-way street proposals? Okay, well, we'll hear from the commissioners. And I'll go ahead first. And I hope that Miss Nikki heard me at the last meeting when I said that I was really not in favor of this board developing an ordinance and a policy that would cause Carrabelle shop owners and their employees to have their vehicles towed. And not only would it cause the shop owners and their employees to have their vehicles towed, it would cause our visitors and our tourists and our residents to have their vehicles towed. And I said that at the last meeting. And I'm trying to keep an open mind. I want to keep an open mind when any proposal is brought forth, whether it comes from the city members, the city residents, or whether it comes from the commission. That's what we're here for, is to keep an open mind and to listen. And I would hope that the citizens listen to what my opinion is and that the commissioners listen to what my opinion is. And that's what I sit on the Tourist Development Council. And I just can't see, personally, I cannot see coming into Carrabelle to downtown where we're trying to develop it as a pedestrian and stop and shop. We want these people on 98 that are coming on 98 to stop in Carrabelle, and they turn down one of those streets and they see parking 2 hours, violators will be towed. I mean, you know, I just don't know about that. And that would apply to the shop owners and that would apply to their employees. I don't understand this part either. I'm with Nikki. I don't understand why the shop owners can't get together and figure out which one of these green spots that Commissioner Brown has pointed out where these employees could park. And she has done a good job, and I've told her before at one of our last meetings, it's a good job of where she has outlined where the businesses are, where the business district, business parking is, and these other green areas are not in such demand. And the Messer Pavilion is not used. That is a beautiful parking facility that is underused. I don't understand why the shop owners or managers cannot designate to their employees, you need to park here. You should park here. I'm requesting that you park here. I don't understand that, and why they can't work together on where they're going to have their employees park. And what happened back in the summer, of course, we had some truck trailer units parking all day long in front of the businesses downtown.
It's still happening.
And I can see that that's an issue. And I agree that, you know, they'll park and they'll take up 2 or 3 spaces. And then we had a couple of employees of one shop, an employee of one shop that's working in a shop for 6-8 hours, parks directly at the front door of another shop for the 6 or 8 hours. So, you know, we're getting complaints from every which way, and we really, the main thing we need is signage. I know we need signage. The city administrator and I have been talking about and working on some consolidated, up-to-date signage and not a bunch of little signs all over town. But we need for our business community to come together and work together and decide where are we going to park our own cars and where are our employees going to park, so we can leave the front door available for our businesses. I would like to try signage at the southeast Avenue C that says no boat trailers, truck trailers beyond this point, no parking of truck trailer units beyond this point, no parking in the business district, whatever, something along those lines. I would like to see no overnight parking in several areas, because we fund, the taxpayers of the city of Carrabelle funds the overnight parking for Dog Island. And when we had our 4th of July fireworks, we had no room for our visitors and our citizens to come downtown on Marine Street to park on the south end, because it was overloaded with vehicles that were parked there for a week and longer. Where were they? And I mean, it was covered up on the south end. So I like, everybody likes the signage. I like the signage. Even the chief likes the signage. And the chief brought up about this would be an ordinance, and when an ordinance is called on complaint, we have to, if someone wants to know who complained, so are you going to call and complain on someone that was in your shop earlier? You know, I don't know. So I think that's, I'm just looking at my notes, and that's all that I have to say. I'll try not to say anything else. I want to hear what the commissioners have to say. Would you like to speak?
Yes. So originally, when this was brought to my attention from, I'd say 90 to 95% of the business owners in downtown Carrabelle, my suggestion was for signs. We didn't even know we had a 40-year-old ordinance at this time. We had no idea. We just wanted some signs limiting parking in front of the businesses during business hours. This was the very first thing I brought up. That's all I was asking for. It's gotten a little convoluted, but I think we all agree tonight that we need signs in front of our businesses with limited parking during business hours. Having the time on there, perfect. Because after 6 o'clock, who cares where you park? If you want to go eat at the restaurant till 10 o'clock at night, 11, whatever, fine. We've already been told that this will not be enforced by our police department, but having those signs there will deter people from parking their boats and trailers and leaving their car there overnight for 10 hours or whatever. It may not stop it completely, but it's going to affect it greatly. And that's the whole reason why we brought this up to begin with. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Melander.
Sure, I'll lead in. I think as far as the business areas and the concerns, I'm not ready to make a solid, of course, we're not here tonight, we're a workshop to make a decision. There's been a tremendous amount of good suggestions and thoughts that's came here tonight that's made me think a little bit differently than what I was thinking when I came to the meeting. The signage, where I was going with that, I'll go back. The business district, with the exception of Harry's is going to be a little bit different from the rest of the businesses. You take from Gander's Hardware to 98 and wrap around. Take from 98 going up Marine Street, wrap around on Avenue B. That timing's going to be a little bit different than Harry's. I like the idea of the signage and the wording on the signage. That's one thing I want to still think about a little bit.
For sure.
And have some more discussion on what we're going to actually put on the signage if we decide to go signage. So anyway, or if this board decides to go signage. And I think that we can also use signage to deter the truck and trailer combination parking along Marine Street. I observe that as well as the public and other folks, and we don't want to discourage our people coming to Carrabelle and patronizing our businesses, but to help alleviate some of the congestion along Marine Street, something like signages, no truck trailer combination parking, no vehicular combination parking. I don't know what term we want to use yet, because if I use truck and trailer, they'll go hook it to a van, or they'll hook it to a car, or they'll hook it to a motorcycle. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. I want to think about this some more, but I think to do that, because I actually saw some of the large units parked as far up as in Harry's yard this year, and truck trailer combinations, and some of those vehicles, as Brandon described, they don't take up 2 spaces, they'll take up 3 or 4. And that's really not fair to the businesses such as Harry's that needs those parking spaces for their customers. And it also adds to congestion because those are large vehicles and it just squeezes it in more space. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it, and I hope to go away from here tonight with all the information that's been greatly provided by the community and by the board here, and give this a lot more thought and try to come up with something solid that we can do to help with our congestion on Marine Street, and help the businesses for their customer parking. Far as specifics and details, I don't want to go to that point right now because I don't know the answers to what I want to say yet. Thank you. And thank everyone for coming and sharing those information, or that information and those ideas that you brought here tonight. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you very much. All right, Mr. Keith
Well, I
Walden.
just want to say, I agree with Mr. Miller. I think we could handle a lot of our problems with signage. As far as these trucks coming in to Carrabelle, most of them guys don't want to go down Marine Street. Once they learn we got all these extra roads paved down, because I fish a lot down there, and I see these trucks going back and forth all day down Guff Avenue. Y'all call it C30. I call it Guff Avenue. They're learning. Now, you might see some new people come into Carrabelle the first time, and they might use a GPS and go down Marine Street. Most of those guys don't want to use Marine Street, believe me, with them big trucks. But I think we could, if we could put some signs up, that all these access roads we got to the boat ramp, I think at time all that would work itself out.
I do too.
Now, as far as the one way, I'm not really sold on that. I think we do that, we're gonna have chaos. But, you know, that's just my opinion.
Well, one thing I did not mention, and I'll mention it, and I'll hush, it's your time.
Please share this.
Was again signage on the one-way, or the issue of the one-way. Go back to signage again, and if we leave the traffic flow as it is, we can also post signage that there's no truck trailer combination traffic. Keep it to a single vehicle traffic. So there's options, we just need to give it some thought and try to bring it together.
I think we can work this out, with the public's help. I appreciate you guys, all your opinions, and I agree with some of them, most of them. And on the one way, I'm up in the air about that one. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. If you want to say something else, just let me know. All right, okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
When I first came here, there was a story about one time the city commission wanted to have a traffic light downtown, and they couldn't agree on what colors to use. And once they finally got that together, then it was whether it's gonna be this way or this way. And so that's sort of what we got going here, it seems to me. And I just don't have any answer to this. I think there's been some good points and some good discussion, and I trust that we'll take that information together and make something out of it that will be applicable and suitable for all, although we probably can't do that for all. But we do the best we can, that's all we can do. And we appreciate you coming out and your comments, and we appreciate your interest, because this has been one of our best interested crowds that wanted to get in on the juicies. So appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Okay, so, and I agree with everyone. I don't think we're gonna make any, we can't vote tonight, it's a workshop. We're not gonna make any decisions, and maybe we want to have another workshop in about a month or so. I mean, we have a lot of meetings, you know, between here and there, and we can think about it, and let's discuss it at under the city administrator's report on whether or not we want to schedule another workshop in October.
We're not bound to make a decision hard and fast right now.
No.
When we make one, we want to make sure we're making the best one possible.
And it would be, you know, we're going to try to work on this overflow parking over the winter. You know, this is something that we can work on over the winter and get it settled, and maybe some signage up and posted before the big boating season starts again, the fishing season. But I want you to know that we advertised this meeting heavily. I wanted all of you to come. We conduct civilized meetings here, and we want the public's input. We were not going to make any decision tonight. These items were put before you not to start an argument, but to get your input and to ask for your help and to help us help you. That's why you were invited here tonight. We could have made the decision on the board as a commission at a commission meeting and not asked for public input. I have not heard from one of the business owners as this afternoon. I had still not heard from one, not even one business owner downtown, how they felt about this. I called one of the business owners that I know. I said, I have not heard from anyone. Do they care? Do they even care that we're discussing this? And I was assured that a group would be coming, and I was glad. I was glad that people do care and want to participate, and I'm glad you came, and I appreciate all of you coming. I wish more of you had spoken up. But yes, sir.
Miss Brenda, real quick,
Okay.
with the boat and trailer parking, just a thought, everybody tries to get in the front door. When you go to the gas station, everybody tries to whip in the front door. You'll nearly get killed. Nobody wants to park out and out of the parking lot. That's just how people are. They want to be right there in the front. So your boat and trailer parking, where you're going to have it, are you going to have a trail that maybe runs through the property line, the woods, like cuts through that block? Or are they going to have to walk all the way down the road and then down?
They'll have to, I mean, this is the only property that the city owns. That property right across the street there on the, right across the street from our parking lot now for boats. They're in front of the Millender property, Miss Courtney, down by the...
Yeah, that's where the old water plant used to be, right?
Yes, that was the old water plant, and the city owns that now. We're just trying to work with what we have. We just can't, yeah.
I think I can help answer Brandon's question if I understood it right, Brandon.
Okay.
At the old water and sewer treatment plant parking, are they gonna have to walk the highway or walk the roadway and not a trail going through the woods? The trail going through the woods would be on private property, and we have no control of that.
Right.
Okay. Now, with that being said, I know when stuff's heavy, Labor Day, Memorial Day, we get a lot of calls down there. And on C30, Gulf Avenue, people pull their boat trailers on that park on the side, which is Miss Poteet's property over in that area.
Yeah.
They slide off in the ditch, they get stuck there. Is there any way to do an underground drainage system there? Maybe dump a lot of lime rock, regrade it, give them 25 feet on the side of the road, maybe just to kind of pull over, kind of like a 20 foot wide by 35 foot, just a vertical parking spot where they can just whip in, next guy can whip in, and just make a line of traffic around that curve right there on the side of the road. There's a lot of ditch there, if you look at it. I don't know how much the city owns.
Well, that's an idea, but that's a costly idea. I
Yes,
can
ma'am.
tell you that would probably be, I don't know, close to $1 million. And I'm not exaggerating. We've got a quote for a 1-block portion of a drainage pipe, a stormwater drainage pipe, with a few inlets. 1 block is gonna be $130,000, and that's not for parking or anything, so, you know, we would have to get some kind of a grant to do that, and before we did that, we would try to buy property nearby to make a parking lot, I think.
Well, and plus that right-of-way is not that wide there, and you're encroaching on private property when you get off the right-of-way. And again, we'd be in trouble there.
I just didn't know how much property the city owns around that curve by Ms. Poteet's area. I didn't know if there was enough room there to, because people already park there right now.
The old roadway, you would think that we own some property there, but all we own is that right-of-way. We don't own any property beyond that right-of-way.
So how far is the right of way off the road, Mr. Tony? Do you know, is it like
30 feet,
I don't know.
20 feet, something like that.
Without having it surveyed, usually the roadway is an 80-foot or a 60-foot roadway, but when they put it in, did they put it down the center, or did they put it off to the
That's the main
side?
thing.
Without a survey, I wouldn't know.
Right.
Well, just
And
an
the road
idea.
itself is usually 24 feet,
Right.
but then if it's
Right.
sitting over closer to this side, then you may have 30 feet of
Right.
easement on one side or the
And
other.
just an idea here, if in the future.
But they're
if-
walking just as far if they park all the way down the road than if they're parking at that parking spot.
You're right, you're getting close to that, right, but with that being said, you know how people are, especially when they're trying to get on their boat or get off their boat, they see that truck down the road, that's, you know, they're getting to it. And I'm just simply saying, maybe later on we could talk about this, but a truck in a boat is only roughly 8-9 feet wide at the most, roughly 8 feet wide, 102 inches or so. With that being said, if you had an extra 12 feet of right-of-way there, and you could do just a quick little grade job there and give a little extra room on the side of the shoulder, you might create 10, 12, 15 parking areas there for boat and trailer parking only. That would get a lot of your congestion out of the areas you want it out of.
Now, this map shows a pretty good right-of-way, but I don't know how accurate it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've kicked this around, I don't think I've ever mentioned it in public, but, you know, eventually we might even consider, this is just something, you know, I've thought of, I've never mentioned it to you all, I don't believe, allowing a vendor to come in with a golf cart to transport people back and forth on the heavy fishing weekends from this
Miss
overflow
Mayor, I've
parking
said
lot.
these youth groups around here is
There
crazy
you go.
already.
I
not
already,
for-
you knew I was on
But
that.
that's,
for
you know,
doing it.
for future
Asking for
discussion, we need to get the parking lot done first,
And
which it
that's-
is.
That's a point I did not make, Ms. Brenda, when we were talking about the whole towing thing also. When we do Alligator Point, it causes a big, big problem. I have to have my own towing service. I got a lady that works for me that runs a van. Because of the fact, we don't have Ubers and towing services in Franklin County, or taxis in
Yeah.
Franklin County. So if we tow somebody's vehicle over on Alligator Point at 6 o'clock, and they did the whole walk around the beach, and we've had people not come off that beach till 11 o'clock at night. The vehicle's back in Carrabelle. They're over here with their cooler and their kid and their wife and everything else. We have to send our own taxi to get them, to bring them to their car, because, you know, of course, they're cussing and hollering and this and that. And it's not the police's responsibility, and it's really not our responsibility. We're just trying to help them, so we're not there all night long, or we got a bunch of stuff going on. So that's another issue with the whole towing thing. They get off their boat, where's their truck? How am I even gonna get to my truck? So.
Okay, towing was not my idea.
Right, I know, I'm just throwing out ideas here, not trying to start a fire.
All right, did you want to speak, Commissioner Miller?
Well, I was just gonna kind of bring that to a close and just to share, it doesn't fix our problem, but coincidentally, I spent some time with a good friend of mine from Dixie and Taylor County this weekend. And you know that's a popular area for boaters, for fishing, for scalloping. And they have large parking lots down at Steenhatchee, Keaton Beach, so forth and so on. And they're having this same problem that we're having. They don't have near enough parking. and people's parking down road shoulders, et cetera, et cetera. And somehow, here in Carrabelle, fishermen's a lookout for fishermen, as we all know if we are fishermen. We've even had situations on weekends where they're parking out at Will Kendrick Park, and they're driving each other back to the boat ramp. So it's not an easy thing to fix, but we'll try to work on it and keep right on working
keep
on it
pecking
and
at
what
it.
we can.
All right, is there any other?
I do want to add
Okay.
something. I know you said you weren't able to speak to a lot of the business owners downtown. I had 8 to 10 email me personally to tell me they were for the signs and limited downtown parking. I also spoke to several in person, well, all of them, also in person, including a few more, as well as some of the residents who live around this area, and they were all for it. So, I mean, if you get out there and talk to them, they'll, I'm sure, tell you the same thing.
Okay, all right. If they're not here, they need to come. They need to come to the next workshop if they're not here.
They were at the last one, and most of them are at this one.
Okay.
There's not that many businesses downtown, but those
No,
of
but I
them are
mean, they
here.
need to come to the next workshop. This is the first workshop we've had on this.
I'm for the signage,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, all right, very good. And that's something, you know, that we can
And maybe you
do,
put
and
it
it's
in
not
writing.
engraved in stone as an ordinance. And certainly that's a first step that we can do and see if that will help to take care of the traffic flow issues and parking issues. All right then, can I adjourn? Do y'all mind if I adjourn? Are you ready? Okay then, this workshop is adjourned.